Welcome to the show. I'm Doug Johnson, and this is The Business of Life. Each month we highlight someone who has a successful strategy to help us in our daily lives. And today's guest is no different. He is a local grown boy, brought up in Hudson, still lives there. Started work at age 16 in the food industry and has been a shining light there ever since. Brandt Evans is his name. You might know that name, very famous. And we are thrilled to have Brandt with us today. So Brandt, welcome to the show.
How you doing, Doug? Thanks
Good.
for letting me be here. It's always great to see you.
You bet. It's super to have you here. So I have a bunch of questions, obviously.
All right.
This is kind of a Q&A. But the really burning question I have is, do you still make that mushroom bread pudding?
You know, ironically, I actually made it this past Saturday. It was kind of cold and rainy. I threw a little sausage in there, a little spinach.
Okay.
And I think I was the only one that ate it at my house.
Oh, jeez.
So I should have brought it for you. I still have it in the fridge.
Oh, my goodness. That is so good.
My daughter likes mashed potatoes, so she went that route. So.
Okay. Well, I just have always enjoyed that mushroom bread pudding, and that's kind of typical of your cooking. A little different, a little off the beaten path, and always, always delicious. So, Brandt, tell us how you got started in the food career and basically what you're doing now.
Well, at age 15, I grew up in Hudson. Wonderful family, mom and dad. Dad was a hard construction worker, and I asked him for $20. He said, "Go get a job." And literally, I got on my bike and rode in the center of town in Hudson, and the Inn at Turner's Mill was just opening up.
Okay.
Got a job being a dishwasher, and when I was within that kitchen, I started seeing food I've never seen before. Okay. Growing up with two older brothers, sports everywhere, everything was in a crock pot. If it was dry, you put ketchup on it, keep going. But I started seeing spaghetti squash and watermelon radishes and venison and pheasant. And I'm like, whoa, what's that? So I, asked the chef one day, I said, "Hey, I want to cook." He's like, "Oh, you want to cook?" I'm like, "Yeah, I want to be up there." And, and I'm not going to lie, you had all the older waitresses talking to the cooks and never talking to me, the dishwasher.
Right.
So I saw the action up there. And the chef put a 50-pound bag of garlic on the table. He said, "You want to cook? Start peeling."
Oh, geez.
So that was my first experience cooking. I was like, "No, I want to be up there." And so regardless, many hundreds of pounds of garlic later, I got a shot and started cooking. And what I realized was, throughout my years in school, I had learning disabilities.
Okay.
I had a hard time really focusing. You might see that with these questions. I might go off different directions. But I really, when I got onto the hotline and started cooking, there's mass chaos going on, but it's all controlled chaos. And I've really found myself being able to focus and do very, very well at the task at hand. So I really just took that and just ran with it.
Okay.
So then I ended up after Turner's Mill, I went to my dad and I said, "I want to go to culinary school." He's like, "What's that?" And this was before this whole chef craze thing going on right now. I just wanted to go to culinary school, become a chef, because I found something I was really passionate about and loved. And went to the Culinary Institute of America in Hyde Park, New York, classified as the best cooking school in the world. It was great. Went to school with people from South Africa to London to Parma. From all over. That was in your pod, your class. We called it a pod. And went there, graduated. After that, I got a job at the Four Seasons Hotel in Philadelphia.
Wow.
That show Hell's Kitchen. People are like, "Oh, that doesn't happen." It did. I don't know if the guy still works there, the sous chef, but he was a screamer and a yeller and threw things. And I just always put my head down, when I'm cutting and slicing, saying, resume.
Right.
But it was a wonderful experience. I want to give credit to the Four Seasons. They truly taught me what being hospitable meant. Meaning, if one of our guests that were staying at the hotel, if they wanted red cherry bubble gum, one of us were running down the street to get it. The word no never came into our vocabulary. So I really learned how to treat the customer there. After that, I ended up going back up to New York, but into the city, and I worked for a gentleman named Charlie Palmer.
Okay.
He had multiple restaurants. I worked at his restaurant called Alva in Lower Manhattan, and became a sous chef 2 weeks into it, which is under the chef.
Right.
And I really, really wish I paid attention to my Spanish classes in school. And I apologize for being mean to my Spanish teacher now, because I really should have just shut up and listened. Because the whole staff, was fluent. And so then after that, I got a phone call from the gentleman at Turner's Mill. His name was Tom Ward, who got me started into this and was my mentor, and said, I'm opening a restaurant on Chagrin and Somme Center called Ward's Inn, the old Watership Down, and I want you to be my head chef.
Wow.
So, and I had this personal goal when I was by age 25 to become an executive chef.
Okay.
And I missed it by 3 months.
Geez, that's fabulous.
So did Ward's Inn. I was there about 3 to 4 years. And then I heard about this restaurant that was happening in Tremont. They opened with the wrong theme, the wrong chef, style of food. And I went down, and it was called Costa's. And that was a really fun time to cook in our city. There was a group of us chefs. Back then I would see a customer 2 to 3 times a month.
Wow.
Because the competition wasn't so large.
Right.
Compared to today, I'll see you once or maybe twice every 2.5 months. Because now you can go out to dinner literally 40 different times and get a great meal. So it's not that, my food or the other chef's food is better or not. It's just, there's just more options.
Right.
So then after Costa's, I decided I was going to open my own restaurant on Mayfield Road. And my finance investor decided he didn't want to invest in the last minute.
Okay.
So there I was with no job, freshly married, like, uh-oh. And if you really look at a lot of the restaurants in Northeast Ohio, the independent restaurants are all chef-owned. So it's hard to be a creative chef to go into a restaurant that there's already a chef that determines the menu, sells the menu, and all that stuff. So there I was. My father-in-law said, call that guy, that mover and shaker, that we had our wedding at the Hilton Garden Inn in Twinsburg, and his name's Bob Volker. And I called Bob and said, hey, Bob, I'm in the market. Don't know if you have anything or know anyone. Or if you know anyone in Atlanta, I wouldn't mind moving to Atlanta at that time. And he said, hey, I'm looking for someone to partner up with me. This piece of property next to the hotel. Would you want to do it? So ironically, he was flying down to Atlanta for a birthday party of one of his old chefs that was celebrating a birthday or a retirement. And we started sketching Blue Canyon out on a napkin, a log cabin. And ironically, Bob was building a log cabin home in Twinsburg.
Right.
And I was like, this is the kind of concept I want. So we were off to the races. So,
well, smart move on his part, smart move on your part.
Oh, I'm telling you, Bob, having a partner like Bob, it's like getting my PhD every day in business. I mean, I learned so much from him. Ask him tons of questions. I probably annoy him. What about this? How about that? But he's just, in our industry, his nickname's Midas, because whatever he touches turns to gold.
Right.
I mean, he is just so creative and such a wonderful businessman. So then there was an opportunity that came. So we just celebrated 11 years at Blue Canyon. Very, very happy. Val, my other partner, does phenomenal work. I mean, talk about a hard worker.
Right.
I mean, he lives there. And a lot of success goes to him. But then there was another opportunity that I had on my own to go do a restaurant on Public Square. And I was very excited to do it because, I was kind of missing being downtown and the whole...
where the action was.
Yeah, and you could start seeing, and this came to me about 6 years ago. And I knew there was this revitalization bubbling. It was starting to happen. It really was. And I wanted to be a part of that. So we ended up on Public Square, right next to the Tri-C Hospitality Management School, which is great because I share a lot of wonderful synergies with each other. For instance, I'll have an internship program going for students. I actually have students working for me. I mean, it's not a Tri-C restaurant, but I get the cream of the crop with all the students being right next door. So we've been doing that, and in my free time, I became my daughter's lacrosse coach.
Right.
I always say I'm probably the favorite coach because I bring the chocolate dipped strawberries and the Gatorade and the suckers. But so yeah, that's been my career, and that's what I've been up to so far.
Wow. You know, I'm always impressed because you and I have known one another a long time, and you have always, and you just kind of repeated that, you mentor young cooks who become chefs. So why is that important to you?
Well, for instance, my chef that's with me at Pura Vida downtown, he's been with me 16 years. He started washing dishes for me when we were at Costa's.
Okay.
I have another chef that I don't have an opportunity for him right now, but he's been with me 15 years, and we're waiting for another situation to happen for him to come back. You know, it's important for me that I give back what my mentors gave to me.
Okay.
You know, a lot of people want to hold people back. And, you know, I'm excited to see my culinary tree grow. To see, wow, look at that dish. I showed you, I could see a little of my cooking within their cooking. And then go, wow, that's really creative spin. I never would have thought of doing it that way or going that way with it. You know, I mean, it's just, it's what you do if you're a good person. I mean, I love seeing people grow, and, you know, they have families, they have kids to take care of. So, you know, I don't want to hold you back. So, and it's, you know, a lot of times I try to give them more opportunities within my company too, because I don't want them to compete against me either.
Sure, right.
You know, they have all my secrets, you know. So my job is to try to keep opening more restaurants and then putting them in the right positions. And then when you get to a certain point, then we talk about let's be, you know, partners.
Right.
Because that'll be their next stage. So, you know, I really like taking people from the dish room all the way up.
So, and you've talked about your mentors, and really you're doing the same thing with kind of the next generation, which is really, really cool.
You know, I'll never forget what it felt like washing dishes, being around in the summertime and that hot steam coming off the dish machine, and being around the garbage and half-eaten food, and, you know, people not scraping their plates, right, and stuff like that. So we always, in all my organizations, take very good care of our dishwashers. So, and you just never forget that.
And that's a good business philosophy, too.
Yep.
Neat. Pura Vida is your restaurant downtown. And if my translation is correct, it means pure life?
Exactly.
Tell us about that.
You know, if I had to do it all over again, I probably wouldn't call it Pura Vida.
Okay.
You know, naming a restaurant's like naming a child. It is very difficult. You don't want to be too catchy or that. You want to, you know, be kind of unique and kind of cool. And I was going through a bunch of different names, and I got an email from a friend that lives down in the Dallas area, and he plays in a reggae band, and he ended his email Pura Vida. Like, that's interesting. I've never really heard that word. Googled it, and it says, pure life, live today, not tomorrow. Live today. And that was my thought, was like, yeah, come to Pura Vida today, not tomorrow. Come today. Right. And let me take care of you. So that's how we did it. And I'd be a liar if I don't have some people showing up thinking that I'm cooking different cuisines sometime. Right. You know? Right. So, but, you know, and it worked. Pura Vida, Pure Life by Brandt. So,
but you really do cook different cuisine.
Yes.
And you're a big proponent of the food to table movement, and today that is so huge. So if you would, Brandt, talk a little bit about how that fits.
You know, all of us, you know, real chefs in the Northeast Ohio area, we've been doing this for years. This is nothing new. It's, of course, I'm going to buy strawberries that are down the road instead of in California. Right. I mean, they're fresher, they taste better, they last longer in my cooler. I don't have to throw them away. Because if you think about it, we're in a crazy business. We buy a disposable product, and hopefully you come in to eat it. Right. Or buy it. If not, I mean, when that food gets to our back door, it's, you know, the timer's on, and we gotta, we hope we get you in and get you out to turn that product. But, you know, for us, it's always been just common sense of buying local. Now you almost have to tell people that on your menu. And so to be honest with you, sometimes I feel, not that I'm selling out, but it's like, I don't have to tell you that. You should know that. But I guess you do.
Well, sometimes we can be pretty thick at times. Right. You know, yeah, you assume that we know that.
And especially at Pura Vida, you know, the difference of Blue Canyon and Pura Vida, not that Blue Canyon is not farm to table, it is, but in a different capacity. I could blow a whole field of beets out in 1 week at Blue Canyon with the numbers we do. And I have to be careful because when you come in, you have that beet salad, you fall in love with it, and then you come back a month or 2 months from now, you want it to kind of be consistent.
Right.
So if I'm changing beets in different farmers, my consistency can go down.
Right.
Now, Pura Vida, it's a smaller restaurant. We do smaller numbers. So I have a wonderful relationship with local farmers. You know, from the mushrooms to, you know, beef to poultry to, you know, eggs to dairy. I mean, everything I could really be farm to table at Pura Vida. Let alone we really hold our hat on being vegan and vegetarian strong. And, you know, what I like about that is, you know, the meat market's crazy. I don't know if you've been to the store lately and see what steaks are costing.
Well, even just, I mean, ground beef.
Yeah.
I mean, it is really expensive.
It's crazy. And I don't think guests or customers understand that I can't keep reprinting a menu. And I can't keep going within, you know, whatever you want to call it, my percentages that I have to make.
Right.
Because all of a sudden I'll be a very expensive restaurant. And, you know, back in the day, you know, beef tenderloin, I could put it on the menu for $18, $21. Now I have to put it around $38, $40. And I think people look at the restaurant being expensive, but they don't realize it's who's selling it to us that, you know, we just have to follow and who they're buying it from. And
sure.
So being vegan and vegetarian down at Pura Vida is great because it really maintains what we live and die by in the kitchen is what's called food cost. You know, and we can make really creative food out of vegetables, not just grilled mushrooms and wild rice and bell peppers and here you go.
Right.
And we're finding that it's becoming a great success for us downtown with this huge health craze going on. When I concepted it, everyone was thinking bacon, bacon, pig, pig, pig. They're getting tattoos of pigs. And side note, I think I'm the only chef left in Northeast Ohio with no tattoos. All right, just for the record. But I said, you know what? I want to go healthy. I want to really, you know, really show what vegetables can be. I mean, because it's such as an artist, as a chef, there's so many great things you can create. A steak to me is a steak.
Right.
Salt and pepper, put it on the grill, put it, I mean, that's for your back porch.
Right.
It really is. Back porch, cold beer, have a good time. Seafood is great, but, you know, sometimes the supply that comes in isn't as consistent as we really want it to be. So, you know, the vegetables is where it's at, I really felt. And it's really helping my business model because, you know, when let's say 4 of you come to eat at Pura Vida, 1 is a vegan or a vegetarian.
Right.
Well, it's hard to find a great option for that individual. So that individual is actually driving you, making you come to Pura Vida, or you want that guest to have a good experience.
Right.
So it's interesting because my number 1 seller is pork chop and chicken and waffles, but the vegan and vegetarians are the ones that are really driving my business downtown. And they know because I'm sustainable and local, you know, is organic. That's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
But, you know, being organic.
Well, and obviously you're doing a great business model. You're thinking you're a good business person. And you have to think about all of this. On a daily basis, and we talk about tips to be successful. And as we talked before, you mentioned 3 tips, belief, action, and discipline. 3 words. How do you live by that? And can you explain each one of those?
Well, you got to be bad to be good.
Okay.
You know, you take B-A-D. And B is for belief. You know, no matter what you do in this world, you have to believe in yourself.
Okay.
You really do. I mean, the competition is huge and so many different. I mean, I can only speak in the restaurant business, but I'm sure in all businesses.
Sure.
You know, it's very cutthroat, and you have to believe in yourself. And what happens when you believe in yourself is it's easier to pick yourself up when you fall, because you're going to fall. I mean, we all make mistakes.
Right.
Think it's a great decision. Let's go this way, business model, and you know, sorry. But if you believe in yourself, you could pick yourself back up and keep going. Let alone your employees. And it's a fine line between ego and believing in yourself. I'm not saying have an ego. I'm saying truly believe in your heart that this is what you want to do for a living.
Okay.
And I think employees really like to see that and to be behind a leader that believes in the direction we're going. So that's what belief is. Action, it's great. We can sit around and be like, I want to be a surfer. Mm-hmm. Well, okay.
Okay.
Well, you got to go find waves. You
Right.
need a surfboard.
Sure.
Neither do I have anywhere. I mean, Hudson Springs doesn't have any waves. So you have to actually put yourself into it and actually start doing the work. So actually, with Action, it's almost, have you ever seen that app, Mind Mapping?
Yes.
I love it because of my attention deficit. I'm like, bing, 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 bing. So I put a thought down in it, and all of a sudden it starts growing,
Right. Sure.
legs and stuff. So you really always go back to what you wrote down first. And then you see your action plan, because that's what's in the middle is the belief. The spider webs or the legs is the action. Okay, we have to do this first. We get our liquor license, get boom, boom, boom. And it actually keeps you very organized.
Sure.
And the last word is discipline. Sometimes you got to stay with what you believe in and not always try to jump to the next trend. And for me, there's trends that come and go in the restaurant business. Mm-hmm. And you have to just keep your feet planted and believe in, let's say, vegan and vegetarian. There are a couple times like, oh boy, I don't know if I made the right decision here.
Right.
And I could have easily said, let's scrap the menu, let's go a different direction, let's bring that pig bacon in. And, then I would have lost sight of, truly what my belief was. And that's to hand a unique product to my customers.
So really have the discipline to stay the course,
Exactly.
is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay. And are those the three tenets that you live by? I mean, obviously, it's kind of a dumb question on my part.
Yeah, and there's also one, it's family. If you don't have a great family and this is just for me personally, I have a wonderful wife, wonderful parents, wonderful in-laws that truly support me in what I do. That makes my life a lot easier. So.
Okay. What else do you think? I mean, so we're up to 4 now. What do you do on a daily basis? Now, you mentioned belief. I have done a lot of reading about positive affirmations. What do you do to build your belief within yourself?
That's a great question. Right at this stage, I look at my numbers. I look at my statements, my P&Ls, and my daily numbers, and that kind of dictates that my beliefs are correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but before I had those numbers, it's truly, knowing this is the right way to go, and I'm going to stay focused and disciplined and head that direction.
Okay. So, and obviously at age 15, you started taking the steps, the action, which is the second part. And then the discipline now, I mean, you're staying your course and doing what you really believe in.
At a young age, my mom always told me that you need to have long-term and short-term goals. Mm-hmm. And when your short-term goals get achieved, you create new ones. And when your long-term goals are achieved, you create new ones. So always have something that you're working toward. And I've always believed in that, and I've always done that. Mm-hmm. So.
Okay.
So when I was a dishwasher, I wanted to be a prep cook. And then be a prep cook, I wanted to work on salads. Salads, I wanted to be grill, I wanted to saute. Now I wanted to be the sous chef. Now I want to be executive chef. Now I wanted to be the owner. Now I want multiple properties and multiple concepts. And that next is I want to retire. I need a break. I want to go fishing.
And you think hopefully for us that won't happen soon. Hopefully for you it will.
I have a daughter that's 11, and she's smart like her mom, so she's going to be going to one of those fancy 4-year schools, I bet. Mm-hmm. Not the 2-year culinary school I went to like her dad. So
you're on the hook for a bit.
Yeah, I'm in the business, and then probably a wedding and all that good stuff is what daddies do. So I'm not going anywhere anytime soon.
Well, you are a well-known chef nationwide. And so many well-known chefs are putting their names and doing the writing of a cookbook. Mm-hmm. Any plans for that?
I have some thoughts on a cookbook. What I would love to do is go into our surrounding retirement homes.
Okay.
And capture the old recipes that are going away.
Cool idea.
And bring them up, because a lot of times it's a little of this. If you ever cook with grandma, a little of that.
Right.
Really
and no measurement, really, just kind of a pinch of this and a dab
dive
of that.
into it. Like, all right, that's a quarter cup, that's a half teaspoon. some of those old school recipes that are just unfortunately dying too. Mm-hmm. And, I'd love to capture that kind of history and kind of maybe update them a touch. If you can't find this product that's no longer made, use this and do that. So that would be one cookbook that I would really enjoy creating. And another one, selfishly, is I would like to, and I'm sure there are some out there, but really my vision of it would be truly going like college football style tailgating. And the reason why is I was down at the Ohio State Buckeyes game 2 weeks ago, and we were tailgating, and I just had some sandwiches we got from Gallucci's, and as I was walking to the game, it was amazing, these setups. I'm sure everyone's like, yeah, of course, but I don't really tailgate that much.
Right.
And I was just absolutely amazed at all the different dishes and stuff being created. So I'd love to go there and go, here's Alabama, here's Ohio State, here's Michigan, here's, all these other that make it unique to that team. So, but that would be just for fun for me.
Well, Brandt, unfortunately, we're out of time.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. It was truly enjoyable.
Thank you. And, always good to see you.
Well, likewise.
And I'll make that mushroom bread pudding for you and bring it.
All righty.
All right.
You have a deal.
All right.
Thanks, Brandt.
Thank you.
I had a really interesting conversation recently with a friend of mine who manages a restaurant. And she was telling me about the younger generations who are working for her now. And we all know, they're a little bit different than we are, right? She was complaining about the fact that cell phones are a huge issue. And I wanted to say, really? I mean, I knew that before you even told me that. With all of my clients, cell phones are a huge, huge issue. Their manners. And I have to remind you here that we were talking about generations Y and Z. And these are folks between the ages of 16 and 30, basically. And she said their manners are horrible. It's always, yeah, no, oh, yeah, see ya. Rather than, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, what can I do for you, as opposed to yeah. The thing that really surprised me that she talked about was the fact that one of her employees had asked her what time it was. And she said, well, there's a clock right up there on the wall. Just look at the clock. The employee said to her, but that's analog. I can't read analog. It has to be digital, like on my watch. Really? Are these generations like that? I sure hope not.